This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Sophie Morioki, who's a clinical psychologist with the Amani Counseling Center, and joins us in the hot seat this morning. Sophie, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Hi.
Hey.
Welcome to the Situation Room this morning. We're glad to have you here. A number of issues surrounding children's mental health, of course. But before we get into that, Dennis is going to welcome you with today's proverb. We would love to hear what your interpretation is of that.
Yes, so today we are in Burundi, right? And Burundi, a country that is landlocked, borders Rwanda, Tanzania, and Tanzania, and the DRC. So we talk about Burundi, and one thing that stands out with the Burundians is fact that there is that what do you call it? The drum that they play that they have in their hands, and it is actually revered across the world as a World Heritage by UNESCO. It is a country that continues to come off a civil war in the country that claimed many people in the country, and continues to be hopeful that everything will be great. It is part of the East Africa community, and the proverb that we get from them today speaks about community and working together. When families share, the nation progresses. When family shares, the nation progresses. How would you interpret it?
When family shares, the nation progresses. It almost sounds like when you want to go fast, go alone. When you want to go far, go with others. So I think it just talks about the whole element of unity and working together, rather than being an individualistic sort of person. It sounds to me like it's encouraging us to grow the family unit and focus on that, because then, you know, it actually makes us more successful. So when families are healthy, they're strong, the society is more productive.
Great. Yeah, talks about unity and working together. Yes.
Okay, I mean, that's great interpretation along the lines of what we're looking into this morning. Also then for us to understand that a lot of times when we talk about mental health, we tend to focus on the adults. We tend to imagine that it's only somebody who's of a certain age who might be going through a particular issue, or whose mental health, because we often think, children is still a blank canvas mostly, and that they don't have too much to worry about. Is that true?
No. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
That's why we have child therapists. That's why we have how to have child therapy, what models to use. Because if all that has been created, it means there's a need.
Right.
But then also it's the element of a child is still a human being. They're likely to get affected. Blank canvas or not, sorry. Children go through trauma even before they're born in utero. So it's not true to think that they cannot have stress or psychological stress or emotional stress, because then they're also human beings. But the thing is that they're still developing. So for me, I think it's even more prudent to make sure that they get access to the help and care that they need, because they're still developing. It's one of those opportunities you have to almost hit or miss, because then if you don't attend to them and help rectify whatever it is that's happening, then they'll grow up with that. Yeah.
You know, so one would ask the question then, as an adult, a child would always look up to you, right, for assistance and for help. But they would not know how to communicate with regard to, Dad, I am stressed, you know. So what are the triggers? How do you then as a parent pick up that something is not right, that this child perhaps, and what time do I then decide that this child needs therapy?
That's a very good question. So they may not be able to communicate in this manner, or like if one of us was to go into a therapy room, or even with a friend, a loved one, and say, I'm stressed. Hey, things are thick, you guy. Yeah. A child may not be able to have that language per se, but depending on their age, you will notice, because it will be evident in their behavior. So they won't be able to do what they normally do on a day-to-day basis. So if your child is a happy-go-lucky, suddenly they're not talking, they're not laughing, poor appetite, crying incessantly, or even if you start noticing, like maybe for the younger ones, like under the age of 5, they've been toilet trained, but suddenly they're wetting and soiling themselves, and they know They know what to do when they need to go use the washroom. When you notice things like that, then that's how they're communicating to you that something is wrong. There's the discomfort they're feeling and they don't know what to do with it. But even infants can be able to communicate in their own way that something is wrong because they already do. An infant is, we think of them as, even when you think of holding one, it's like holding an egg. But then also, when they cry, you either check their diaper, feed them, maybe they're tired. But if you've done all those things and it's over a period of time, perhaps it's worth having a conversation with infant mental health specialist because they're there.
Wow.
Yeah.
What were some of the causes of this of these issues? Because it's not just somebody feeling a certain type of way. There's something that's bringing about that feeling. What are some of the most, rather more usual cases that you would see, or the causes of these issues?
Oh, they're varied. I mean, think of your society and community, the things that happen on a day-to-day. It could be problems. Let's start. Let's narrow the vision. So, in the immediate child's life, is who? The immediate family, right? Again, depending on their age. And so maybe if it's a younger child who hasn't started going to school, it could be problems within the home. Whatever their home setup is like, it doesn't have to be. We can no longer think of perfect homes. What is that even? So within their immediate home environment, what's going on? Because then that's where it would start. Check that out and then now go a bit wider. So is it the parents? Is it the sibling? Or whoever the caregiver is? Is it the minder? Older kids who are in school, then now it gets a bit wider because then they have their own network. So they have the immediate family, they have their friends. If they're on a school buses are one of the notorious places where things are happening. There's bullying, especially if it's a big bus with kids of different ages. You'll find that there's bullying going on in the bus. So it could be anything from the neighbors to the school bus to the school, classroom, wider school. So the scope goes wider depending on the age
and
of
how
the child.
let's go back to the home. Let's call these things for what they are. Because you know why? That usually we don't. And we'll say, okay, there may be something going on, but we don't know what it is. What are those situations in the home that will affect children that we often ignore and think that they're young, so they probably wouldn't know and it wouldn't affect them? What are they?
They're not listening, they can't hear. Parents fighting, caregivers fighting.
Okay.
Let me call them caregivers because maybe they're not being brought up by their parents. The caregivers are fighting.
Okay.
They're fighting amongst themselves, they're fighting with other adults, and they're fighting in front of the child. Kids are very perceptive. Almost like a sponge, so they take in a lot. And so when you're doing that, and even the caregiver abusing the child in some way, trying to shape them up, discipline them, that could be another big cause. That is another big cause. And you often find when someone wants to bring their child into therapy, we'll listen. But then sometimes the kid is not the issue. It's the caregivers.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are some of the ways that one can pick that up? Because if it's the caregiver, assuming you are the parent, you're not home, and you've left
the minder, whoever.
Yes, a home, and you come back and you realize, you start seeing things happen, and one of that would be that the child, the moment you get in, is clingy, doesn't want to go, sees the other party and starts crying. I mean, what are these telltale signs that are so obvious but we miss?
You've even said them. So you get home, the child is clingy, or the child doesn't want you to leave the room. As kids get older and get more independent, they're happy to run off and leave you. Even think of a child's first day of school. Most kids will be excited to go, especially when they've understood that there's, like those who have older siblings, there's this place people get to go and come back later. So the first day of school often is, one of you is going to cry. If the parent is crying, that's good, because then your child is healthy. They are able to go away knowing that they can come back. They're happy to leave you. You, when you need to leave, they don't want you to leave them. So when a child doesn't want you to leave them, then you have to start asking yourself and looking into it and see what is it that's making this child not want to be away. Because often you'll see even toddlers, they'll run off, but they'll look back to see where their caregiver is. But when they don't even want to go there, even just around the corner, there's something to look into. when they seem to be more scared of one caregiver than the other, what does it? That's a communication. So you just need to listen and look at what they're saying. I was asking earlier, what are these telltale signs, and what are these things that are happening? So, I think a lot of conflict happens in the home, and we don't want to admit it. Yeah. So maybe you're both career people. You've come home late, and then Baba Mtoto is asking the mother, "What are we eating?" And that becomes a fight. You don't know what has happened during the day with the minder. What kind of caregiver are you leaving your child with? So that's why you're finding a lot of people installing CCTVs in their home so that they can check in and see, right? Because they don't know, like you're asking, how will I know what's wrong with my child if my child can't say, auntie chapad me? Yeah. So you watch your CCTV to see. And unfortunately, you do get instances where a minder is dragging a child because they're refusing to obey or listen. They're punishing them too harshly. You have to look at the age of the child before you merit some sort of punishment, because then if you ask a child, take your plate to the kitchen, and they are 3 years old, and then you start slapping them around or dragging them, that's abuse. That is abuse. So you have to look at those kind of things and call them what they are, like you're saying. And a lot of the times these things happen because they happened to you. We socialize the way we were socialized. But then it doesn't mean you can't unlearn some of these behaviors that you grew up with. Yeah.
Okay. Some of the things that you mentioned are very worrying. We all saw the terrible videos, and we still continue to see them, of several things whereby a minder is treating a child as though the child were an animal. Some people have treated animals better. And I can't imagine that child, that this one particular video that I can never get out of my mind of what was being done to this child. Maybe that child is about 5 years older now, but it's obvious that they continue to live in, and that's what you saw on camera. I shudder to imagine what was done to this child when, under the cover of darkness. And I try to imagine what that child is coping with today, wherever she is. But that is just one example of what's happening to many children untold. And beyond that, the sexual abuse that's happening to children in homes today. Looking at of course, in preparing for this conversation and just being aware of things that are happening, the sexual abuse and violence that is being meted upon children in homes today, to a large extent, is undocumented, unreported, and unspoken. What are telltale signs? And I'll give you a little bit of a story in a bit after we hear this, but what are the telltale signs? Kind of like Dennis, how will you know? Because again, when we look at mental health in children, a large percentage of that mental health issue is coming from abuse, and a large percentage of that abuse is sexual abuse. So, what are the telltale signs for parents that there's something, and this is not just girls, this is girls and boys.
Boys, yeah.
Yeah.
So what are some of the telltale signs for parents, for caregivers, that there's something happening with this child, beyond that somebody bullied you on the bus, that somebody is into your privacy in a manner in which they shouldn't be? How do you know? And again, scarily, it is usually by a relative.
100%.
Okay.
A lot of these things are done by the people you know and trust. And even to speak to that and answer to that, at least with the millennial generation, you'll hear that for a lot of men growing up, their first sexual encounter was with the
house help.
Bus. So, telltale signs. I'm bringing that example in because a lot of the stories you hear, these guys were teenagers, but younger kids.
Yeah.
Withdrawal is number one, because now what tends to happen is that this person will threaten that child. If you say anything, mommy will die, daddy will die, what will that child do? See, they'll stop saying anything.
Yeah.
So they'll get withdrawn because now they have to, their brain, which is still developing, has to make that decision of what can I say, not say. Do they even have the capacity to make that decision? I'm already even getting so upset by the...
It's okay.
It's okay.
With that, yes.
But as in, they have to make that decision. And why must a child be forced to be? Why should they be put in that position? You get what I mean? So they're not even able to make that determination, and so often they'll go quiet, they'll get withdrawn. Like I was saying before, appetite goes down or up because now they're developing survival skills to keep their parents alive or whoever has been threatened.
Yeah.
That's usually the number one weapon. Sleeping difficulties, and they could become a bit fussy, but the one that really, really gets to them is withdrawal. Because now there's the idea of threat, plus now there's shame. Imagine they're being taught shame at that age. Yeah? Now the problem also becomes that if it's something that's happening on the regular, then like the last time we had a conversation on grooming, this child now becomes normalized. It becomes a thing that they are used to.
Yeah.
Because now this person has taken advantage of them, and now they're a pedophile, and they're going to them regularly. And now you'll find that there are those who prefer them younger. So when this child now grows up and gets to a certain age, they are discarded. So now there's rejection that child has to deal with.
Okay. Now, let me give you the story. I'm not rage baiting you, but this is a reality of things that are happening in our society. So then for parents to then be able to connect the two, that you may not understand what's going on. A little girl of 6 years old comes home from one day, not comes home, but she's come back home with her mother, and she's got a beautiful watch on her wrist. Right? Mother says, "Who gave you this?" She was like, "Oh, my friend gave it to me." "Friend gave it to you where?" "Gave it to me in church." "Okay. Yeah, he's my friend." "What do you mean?" "Yeah, we see him in church, he gives me." So the mother in her mind imagined that this friend is somebody of the same age as her child. So, she took the watch, and I'm going to do this quickly. She took the watch, and I'll leave some parts out, obviously, because of time. She took the watch, and the next week on Sunday, she said to her, "Show me your friend. Show me your friend so that we can have a conversation with the friend." Friend turns out to be a 45-year-old man. And she, of course, was taken aback. What's going on here? The man admitted to this woman that actually, I'm in love with your daughter. Okay? I'm in love with your daughter, and we are friends. And so she's interrogating this girl in terms of what has been happening with you. At some point, she asked her mother, "Well, why are you getting so angry at this man? I actually love him." I actually love him, or whatever the case may be. And the mother actually asked her, "When do you see him? Where do you meet him?" And in her innocence, she answered her mother, and she said, in this church bill, there was an unfinished part of the church where this man would take this girl and repeatedly defile her during church service when she's supposed to be in Sunday school, over and over again. And it had messed with her head so much that she believed that this was a friendship. And CCTV footage revealed things that this woman now is horrified about. And they had to take her to hospital and do the tests and all of this, and to find out that this man had defiled her in ways that we cannot even mention because it's so terrible. So now this girl will live with this thing almost for the rest of her life, with a mother who doesn't even know. She couldn't tell. So this is why I was asking the question, how do you tell that your child is going through this? And then if you find out that this is happening later, what do you do? What does this mother do in this instant now, where a 6-year-old girl has had an experience that no child should before they have finished developing mentally? And she represents, from the numbers that we can see, she represents a large number of children who go through this.
And it's staggering how often this happens, and in a safe place. Isn't a church supposed to be a safe place?
Right.
Isn't anyone who goes to church a safe person, so to
Supposedly.
speak? Supposedly. But then I'm also wondering, with defilement, the other thing I should have mentioned is sometimes there's physical symptoms. I wonder if there was pain.
I'm sure there was.
Yeah.
But she didn't know how to deal with this because this man has told you he's your friend.
Yes.
And he will say it. It can hurt a little bit, but it's okay. You'll feel nice later. These are the things that are said.
And it's true.
And don't tell mom because they wouldn't like our love.
Or he threatened and said she'd be killed. But then also, were there things in her clothes that were ignored? Because then for a 6-year-old, physically speaking, there's going to be some sort of injury for one. And so her panty would have had either soiling or bleeding. Because in boys, then they develop an incontinence almost. So they're not even able to hold stool when they're sodomized. So they're, it's coming up in their underwear. And so you have to check these things, not in a paranoid way, but the younger kids are not washing their own underwear, are they? It's someone else is doing it. And so that person needs to be able to tell the caregiver and say, there's an issue here, right? And I'm wondering, there's so many questions, but I think physically that child must have had discomfort. As to whether they ever said it, who knows? And being given a watch or any gift, I mean, this was being groomed, and now this man became audacious and bold enough to give that kind of gift to a child who will go home with it, not a teenager who will hide it, right? And so, oh my God, it's maddening in every sense of the word. But then also, checking in with your child as often as possible, because sometimes you do your best as a caregiver to look out for your child. You really do, and you might not always know, because even this mom was keen enough to see
The watch.
And we can't even blame the mother. But this guy must have really gotten into that child's head. We don't know for how long. It's very unfortunate. But then that's someone who just takes advantage.
Yeah.
And what to do after, to answer the second part of your question, it's not to say that nothing can happen. When things go wrong, we now talk about repair. Okay? So if you get intervention for this child in good enough time, then they're able to go through therapy, get the support that they need, so that this wound becomes a scar. We can't delete. It's not magic. But if it becomes a scar, then that means it's been treated. It will leave a mark, but then it's not impossible that this child will be able to have a thriving life, because it was gotten in good time, but it takes a lot of work and patience.
Can we take a break at this point? We're going to do that quickly and then come back and continue this conversation. We see you have props. There's some things that maybe you want to then share and explain to us. We're looking at mental health in children. Listen to me is essentially what the message is this morning. And we are continuing to have this conversation when we come back from this break. This is a Situation Room. Our Healthy Friday conversation is around mental health, but we're looking specifically into this situation with children and exactly what it means and how we ought to deal with some of these issues. Don't go away. We'll be back after this break. Sophie continues with us 27 minutes to 7 to 8.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The only way to start your day.
Bunch of different toys that a child can now use, including, you can see, like a dragon, so a fantasy toy. So it has to be everything you can think of in a toy sort of situation, including like in our child therapy room at Amani, we have different things, including coffins, because you're going to talk about loss and grief. So a child will come and, if they've ever been to a funeral, they'll be able to dig up the sand, bury their loved one, and cover them up. And that's healthy, that's okay. So we use these things to be able to tell that story, and a child can tell you what happened to them with stuff here that doesn't look like it makes sense. Even you guys, if I gave them to you and gave you a question to think about, like for example, where do you see this show in the next 2 years? You'll be able to tell me that story even just using this.
Oh, really?
Really?
Okay.
Truly. And so then that's how we're able to communicate with kids and figure out what's going on and help them process. And understand what has happened to them, the impact it has had on them and their body and their emotions, how to regulate their emotions and heal. And like for example, I was at a workshop a couple of days ago and I gave them props, and there was a balloon that had escaped into my toys. I didn't even notice. So I gave them the question, and one of the ladies blew up the balloon and made it into a ball. An adult. So even you can play and express yourself with these things here. Yeah.
It's interesting.
So this is how professionals do it, right? But me, I'm home. I'm just with my boy. I would want to say we're just chilling and having a great time.
Right.
Because there's one time I realized someone just shouted all of a sudden, and the kid was like, I've never really experienced that before. What is that? And the boy looked at me, expecting that I would have answers. And for a minute there, I didn't know what to do. But I just brought him and I was like, no, they're not screaming at you. They're not shouting at you. They're just having a conversation in a louder tone. But if that ever happens, say such happened or someone shouted at you. I didn't know how to go about it. So this is how you would do it. How do we lay people, laymen and women, deal with it? Yeah.
All of us, because me, I'm a professional at work. At home, I'm just like you, trying to figure out how to best support.
Because at times you'd see someone has done something, or he wants to do something and looks at you for permission or to see how you would react.
Exactly.
So that is communication, yes. And at times people don't know what to do because, okay, sawa, I know what he's about to do is wrong. I don't want to tell him not to do it because there is also a talk out here. I don't know if it's okay. If a child is doing dangerous things in a safe way, let them do it. Just observe. And watch so that they don't hurt themselves.
Right,
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think the other thing to say is to reassure us that a lot of the times we are doing it, because even in the example you've shared, you did it. So something happened, your boy looked at you, because then for him in that situation, he's looking for safety. He didn't look at the door. He didn't want to take off. He went to you. He looked at you to see how you're going to react and also to reassure him, but also because you are his safety net. And so when he didn't see you panicking, he also didn't panic too much. But then the question of what was that, because they've never experienced it before. And so the fact that you, were able to answer back and, say they're not shouting at you or whatever, that also helped. But the non-verbal was also very key. And so those are the things that we need to work on. Being deliberate and listening and watching these kids, because as a caregiver, inherently how your child behaves. Hold them, hug them, no matter how old they are.
Please say it again.
Hold and hug those babies. No matter how old. Let me give you another scenario.
Boys or girls. I'm sorry, because there's this thing about how you don't hug boys because they'll become soft tomorrow.
Imagine come at me, but me will tell you hug them. And let me give you an example. 2 3-year-olds, boy and girl, okay? A 3-year-old girl cries. What do you do?
Sorry,
You carry her. Sorry, mama.
Yeah.
A 3-year-old boy cries. What do you do?
Man up.
Why? Who told you?
Thank you.
What is man up? Well, how does he know what
He's
that
3
is?
for crying
He's
out
3.
loud. Or
Why?
if he's even 7.
Boys
he's
don't
even
cry.
12.
Yes.
So
Boys
what?
should not cry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so when you see a boy crying and they're with their parents and no one is looking any type of way, it's because you've created safety for that child to be able to express themselves and to be able to regulate the emotion, because crying is a form of regulation. So if it needs to come out, it needs to come out. Do you want him to punch a wall or to cry? But hug those children and let them express themselves, because even that boy you're saying man up, he has to be taught how to man up.
True.
And our men are wounded because then they were told man up. And there's nothing wrong with being a man. You must be a man, by the way. We're asking a lot of you. Yeah. But you must be a man. A man doesn't mean that you can't express yourself. But then also you need to be taught how to regulate your emotions. You need to be socialized. So it's okay for a boy to cry. It's okay for a boy to be hugged. Because then you're also teaching him how to be there for other people.
Nobody will die.
So,
yeah.
You see, we are also in a society where a lot of men have been brought up being, you have to man up, right? Don't express. So for me to be able to deal with my boy at that age, I need to be reconditioned. I need to unlearn a lot of things.
Right.
That so in this instant, whilst I need to listen to my boy speak, I need to be softened. I need to be reconditioned for me to be able to give them that which I was giving. I'll give you an example as well. Today is a lot of examples.
Yeah, bring
So
them.
over the holidays, I'm home with my folks, and you see, my dad is that age, of manning up. And I would tell you what. For many years, my dad didn't know how to hug me. you know. But I made it uncomfortable. Do what you must. You are now adults. I hugged the hell out of that man until nowadays.
Sounds a little creepy, but
you know. It's normal. It's normal for him. That when his grandchildren show up, you would see him do things he never did to us. You know, like Baba kam, mbono yanafanya nini, they hug, you know. And it's through many of us needing to unlearn that would be able to then pick up on the little things that our children do not say. So a question would be then, I think, adults need to put themselves in a position where they seek help.
Exactly.
That they unlearn for them to pick up the little things, no?
And repair. And repair. Because then we're not saying there's anything wrong. We're just saying we've noticed. And I think, when I think about it more, I think the Gen X's and the millennials, we're in such a, I've even just said my age, but we're in such a tough space because when you look at your folks, you have to realize what they grew up in. They grew up in a transition era of colonialism and all these other things that they went through, and now to make their lives and our lives more comfortable. You know the whole story of I walked without shoes. I was number
10,000 miles.
That was you, man.
That was you. But we love you. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. But then they're in that spot. That's how they grew up. And now we are watching them. And then now our kids, the Gen X's, Gen Zs have come, Gen Alphas. And so now we have to, I feel like there's that transition for those generations to see how to balance things out. And I love that you normalized hugging, right? Because for me, I feel men are such an integral part of this society. So I don't think you guys understand how much power you have. I'm always going on with my friends, and they're sick of me because I'm like, talk. You know, do what you need to do to sort things out, because then you're such an integral part of family. And you're having kids and you're teaching them how to be good men, and you're showing them strength.
Or even grant them. Say, make a sound.
Make a sound.
We now move to the next.
But please use your words once in a while. But you've actually now taught your kids something so amazing. And even your dad has appreciated this.
Absolutely.
And you've changed a man in that era, so congrats to you.
Absolutely.
And so the idea is, let's have these conversations, and the fact that you're asking questions, because you were asking what can we do as lay people at home, those questions, the wondering, come and go into a therapeutic space and have that conversation there, because you'll be able to unpack it in a better way. And then that means you'll go home a healthier man or woman to that child, and you'll be in tune and be able to attune to your child, to your niece, to your nephew, to your neighbors, because family is not just you and your kids. You'll notice things even in other kids, and you'll be able to be the bridge between them and their parents in case something is going on. You'll be able to see it better, hear it better. So let's normalize even going for therapy. Nothing has to go wrong in your life, imagine. You come and have that conversation with us, and we'll be able to guide and see how we can support.
We had a proverb earlier this week, and it essentially talked about how you're not able to go forward without looking at what's happened in the past. And with children, it's that point that so many things are happening. This canvas is being painted, the imprinting is happening, the socialization is taking place. So can you separate an adult's experience from a childhood? Can you really say that, well, that was my childhood, and now as an adult, I'm living differently? If we're talking about children's mental health today, the things that we put into them, the experiences, because we are a sum total of our experiences. There's a lot of trauma that you may have gone through as a child that then lives out in your adulthood.
Exactly.
So the things that we see in adulthood, can we separate them from maybe what one has gone through as a child that was undealt with?
Not in its entirety. It shows up.
Okay.
It shows up. And then when we're able to come in and see what it is that you're trying to deal with now, different types of therapies will help you unpack that thing. So kumbe, that thing that happened to you when you were 5, that was never sorted, has shown up now in the way that you deal with things today. So whether it's that you have a lot of anxiety, maybe something happened to your mom when she was pregnant, because then you realize in utero, a baby is developing, and one of the things that is in charge of who we are today is our central nervous system. And it holds, there's muscle memory. there's memory in your nerves and things. So your body remembers some things and it absorbed that shock. And maybe that's why you're so jittery sometimes. You jump at the slightest. And so that's why we're even able to have infant mental health practitioners who can help a caregiver, sort of understand their baby and repair and help the baby calm down their nervous system, so that they're not just jumpy all the time or stressed or tense or depressed. So things do stay within your body and show up later. You can't really discount. We are resilient. You do what you need to do to survive and get on with your day, but then it ends up showing up one way or another.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's normalize going to therapy. There's something profound that you've said, that you don't have to be sick for you to go for therapy. Go learn. Go and learn.
Go learn and
go know how to handle things. But then again, we are in a society where if anyone hears of therapy, we look at So how do we deal and how do we unpack it so that people look at therapy not as a place of last resort when nothing else can be done, but a place where you can go to be a better person?
I think it's already happening in some way because, for example, look at insurance.
Yeah.
We're able to see, if you look at your panel of providers, you'll find dentist, urologist, all the normal things, gynecologist. We are now finding mental health. So you have your psychiatrist, you have your psychologist, you have your counselor. So that's already showing that there's been a shift in how we are perceiving things, if insurance is covering things, right? And so we just need to be able to, within ourselves, get over it, to say. Just build a bridge, get over it, and have the session. But I'm also finding that we can't stick to the traditional, go to a counseling room and have the one-on-one. Open it up to spaces. You want to make it maybe less formal, have a nyama sort of gathering and have your session there. If you're able to invite someone to just come and have an informal conversation, then it doesn't feel so confrontational. So I'm always urging people, let's think outside the box.
Okay.
Because therapy in this country is changing. And how you also know is because there are so many other therapy spaces that have come up. The need is there, and so the fact that the demand is there, the supply is limited, but then we're doing better. People are taking courses. Kids coming out of high school are going straight into a counseling psychology program. It's no longer the thing people do when they're retiring. So that shows you there's been a shift. But then if we're able to have informal sort of setups, I think it will also help. We've given an example of something bad happening in a church. But we know Kenyans and churches, we are like this.
Yes.
So let's use that space for guiding people as to what to look out for, because then it now looks like, honestly, take your baby's hand, walk them to that class.
Yes.
Go pick them up.
Yeah, you go pick them up. You drop them, you go pick them. I know we're trying to teach our kids independence, but then we also need to teach them that danger doesn't just come from a stranger. So if someone comes up, to you and now is telling you they love you, please, let's have this conversation so that this child is comfortable enough to come and tell you, hey, by the way, Baba, someone came and told me this and that. How was Sunday school? Imagine I met Baba so-and-so and he said hi. So you'll wonder, where were you meeting when I entered the bathroom?
Exactly.
Should he be in the main big church? So, when you have a conversation, then you get maybe clues. So let's have those conversations. Let's take them to schools. Schools are now hiring counselors. It doesn't have to be the teacher teaching CRE who is the counselor
or the librarian.
or the librarian. But even churches are actually creating space in their staffing to have a counselor on board. So it's happening, but we're not done yet. We're not done yet. And now we're talking about Nairobi. Out of Nairobi, what's going on there?
My goodness.
We're all concentrated here, but then we also have to think about our whole country. The need is, oh my God, it's there, and we just have to find ways of having impact in all the different spaces.
I mean, there are too many examples, and I know that people would want to ask questions about an example. We've heard stories of people who have essentially later on in life, then, if it's possible to divorce your parents, have then divorced their parents because the trauma of beating that they've had to live with. I mean, there's disciplining a child, and then there's abuse and torture
Right.
that a lot of kids have had to go through, and they're not sure how to deal with that. And we have children who've grown up hating is too simple, loathing their parents because of the traumatic experience of this discipline that was borderline abuse. How do you you only come to terms, I guess, that thing that you were talking about, the fight and flight, you retreat from that space to protect
Totally.
yourself at the time, but then it comes back later. How do you deal with that later, because now you're an adult? Couple that with a lot of parents who are couples who are in a terrible space in terms of relationship and actually have no business being together, still are together because they say we are doing it for the children.
Hey, those children have seen you doing bad things.
Right.
Yes,
So
stop
is that
it.
an excuse now? Because a lot of people say, yeah, I'm still here. I know he beats the hell out of me every day. And I know that I abuse him to within an inch of his life every day. But we're here for the children. What would you say in that situation?
You're not there for the children.
Okay.
You're not. Because then that child is seeing you being beaten and you fighting back by being verbally abusive. You're teaching that child abuse. You are teaching the child abuse. So I'm not saying leave the relationship. I'm saying figure
I'm
it
saying
out.
leave, Sophie.
Me, I can't say.
Kai. Sorry. Okay.
But I'm saying do something. Get it sorted and don't do it in front of the kids because they are learning from you. Right? So a lot of people who grew up in abusive homes became abusers, and we're not normalizing it. We're just saying, again, that's how they were socialized. So then you have to think beyond this fight that you're having. What impact am I having on that same baby I'm staying for?
So what are you saying? That you said they're like sponges. Everything that they see around them. But would you not rather remove them from that, or remove yourself from that situation, than allow this child? Because when you say that a lot of people who you said a lot of people who become abusers grew up in an abusive home.
They likely did, yes.
Yeah.
They
Or they
likely
learned
did.
abuse, right? A lot of people who are abusers today, you can trace it back and say that they grew up in that environment.
Because then I'm slapping you because I love you.
Yeah,
That's how
okay.
I show love, right? So you have to think about the things that you're doing and the impact they're going to have on those same very children that you're talking about. And so where are you fighting in the first place? You ask the guy, why is he beating her to an inch of her life? Because, I mean, she doesn't listen. So if she doesn't listen, you beat her. Yeah, because she'll be
There's
able
a
to-
scientific thing that when you beat somebody, their ears open, in case you didn't know. Yeah.
Exactly. So if you do really, then it's about now talking about your relationship and the impact that how you're loving each other is lovingly trickling down to the kids.
True.
So if you're not going to leave, then fix it or do it elsewhere. But then don't say you're staying there for the kids, because they're seeing what you're doing and they're absorbing it and they're going to replicate it. So what can we do? I can't talk about therapy enough. I can't talk about getting help enough. And calling each other out.
Yeah.
Because then if you're beating your child, so if I'm beating my child and we're together and you're seeing me doing this, what are you doing? Watching me beat this child?
Yeah.
Are you not feeling, that's a bit, that one you've crossed,
Yeah.
So the onus is on you to pull, because now if I'm enraged, then won't I keep going at it?
Exactly.
So then you have to call me out on it. The chances of the both of you inflicting that much discipline are not very high. So you always have the disciplinarian and the fan
who
police.
balances,
We call the
fan police.
call them the fan police.
Yeah.
Call out the disciplinarian. And if you're seeing it's becoming a habit, then maybe this is now how they are coping with their own stress. Because what is it a child has done that is so bad? Okay, fine. So they dropped your 100-inch TV that is QLED or whatever. So you're going to beat them until it comes back on. You get what I mean?
get
So we
another
need to
one.
call each other out as the adults in the room.
Indeed.
Yes.
These are sessions that we should continue to have. There's the software of conversations. It's the software that we don't invest enough in. So we want to thank you for doing this with us today, and likely that we'll do it again, because we have a disease, the lack of ease in our society. And we
Yes.
need to deal with it.
100%.
Sophie Morioke is a clinical psychologist with the Amani Counseling Center and has been with us in this edition of Healthy Friday. Asante Sana.
Thank you so much.
Good morning, 8 a.m.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM. This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day.